welcome back to Rule of Thumb. So, today we're going to do something I didn't think I would ever do. I'm going to film a video for the recipe for meatloaf. Now, I can't say that I have ever in my life followed a recipe for meatloaf. When I was a kid, my mom taught me how to make meatloaf, and basically meatloaf was ground beef with whatever you had on hand. And that's kind of how it came together. So I have made it probably a million different ways in my lifetime. The reason why I decided to film this one is I am going to use some sweet onion jam. So in a video not that long ago, I made sweet onion jam, and I was talking to friends about it, and a lot of people asked me, well, how are you going to use it? What are you going to use it for? How would you use that? So I thought, I'm going to come on here and show you a way to use it. So I'm going to go through the cast of ingredients here that I've decided to put together for this one, and then I'm going to get it all in the bowl and mix it up, and we'll go from there. So I have just over a half a cup of the sweet onion jam. I used some of this on burgers a few nights ago, so yeah, it's just over half a cup left in here. For our purposes tonight, it's going to be fine. Now, I typically use barbecue sauce in my meatloaf. So I'm going to replace the barbecue sauce with this. I also have probably an eighth a cup of ketchup here, which is pretty standard in my meatloaf. For seasonings, I have got 2 teaspoons of Lawry's seasoning salt, 1 teaspoon of white pepper, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, and 2 teaspoons of parsley. And then in this bowl here, I have 1 egg, about a teaspoon of stone ground mustard, probably a teaspoon of Worcestershire, however you want to say it, sauce, and 1 egg mixed up in here. Did I say 1 egg? Yeah. So 1 egg, mustard, Worcestershire sauce, and that's all blended together in here. Oh, and a little minced, that roasted minced garlic that I found at Aldi. I put about a half a teaspoon of that in there. So, we're going to get these ingredients in here first, and then I'm going to show you how I tackle the breadcrumbs. And then I'm starting with 2 pounds of ground beef. So a little trick that I do is when I take the ground beef out, I break the ground beef up in the bowl. And I always use a wide flat bowl like this, and I will show you why as we start to get these ingredients in the bowl here. So what we're going to do is I try to kind of, as I'm adding the ingredients, spread them out a little. And what I'm trying to do is create a mixing environment that will allow me to get everything evenly distributed throughout the meatloaf, because nobody wants meatloaf that tastes one way in one part and one way in another part, and you also don't want to be mixing it forever. So I also usually like to get my ground beef out on the counter early enough to let it come to room temperature, just because it's easier to handle. It's easier on the hands. So that's just a little tip from me to you. It'll make your life easier, because if you're like me, your hands get cold fast, and when you're in that cold food, they can get cold even faster. I'm going to take a little fork here and kind of mix up our seasoning mix as well. You can put this into a little mason jar and mix it up if you want to have some of this mix on hand, or however you want to do it. But like I said, the key here is to try and get everything as evenly distributed as you can. So we're going to go ahead and sprinkle that all around here. Got all of our spices in there. And then that brings us to the breadcrumbs. Now, I use plain breadcrumbs for the most part. If all I have is Italian breadcrumbs, I'll use those. If I have potato chips, if that's all I have on hand, I'll use that. I've used Doritos, I've used crackers, I've used, you know, you name it. I have used many, many different things. And that is our rule of thumb for this video, is that, you know, you use what you have on hand. Same with the seasonings. If you don't like those seasonings or you don't have those seasonings, use what you want. You know, make it yours. That's the beauty of Meatloaf, is everybody's recipe is a little different. So there's your rule of thumb for this video. Now, breadcrumbs. This is how I do mine. I take my breadcrumbs and I sprinkle them across the top. And what I'm looking for is basically a layer of breadcrumbs that just coats the top of the ground beef. Okay, so that was maybe a quarter a cup of breadcrumbs. And so, if you can see there, that's kind of what I'm looking for. Now, on occasion, you may have to add a little bit more. It happens. But that's usually where my starting point is. This is 93.7 ground beef, so this is pretty lean to begin with, so I didn't want to go overboard with the breadcrumbs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this mixed up, and I'll bring you back when I have it completely mixed, and we'll see if it needs any adjustments at that point. And we're back. So I did not add anything more to this. For me, this is holding its shape, which is typically what I look for. It's not too dry, and it's not loose. It's not falling apart. Now, if it was still falling apart and wouldn't hold its shape, add some more breadcrumbs. If you added too many breadcrumbs and you feel like, oh man, when I cook this, it's going to be so dry, add a little olive oil, or, you know, add a little bit more ketchup, or a little bit more barbecue sauce, or, you know, add some liquid to it. Meatloaf is easy, so don't fret. You can always fix it. But what you're looking for is a loaf, so something that holds together. Now, I have to tell you, as I was mixing this up, that sweet onion jam, it smells good. I mean, real good. So I have a feeling this is going to be pretty decadent. So I have my oven heating up to 350 degrees. I have an 8x8 or 9x9. I think this is a 9x9 pan. I'm going to get my meatloaf in there, and we're going to get it in the oven at 350 degrees for about anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour, depending on how you know, how thick your meatloaf is, depending on what pan you use. That time can vary a little bit. Some people choose to do theirs in a bread pan. Some people choose to do theirs on a cookie sheet. So, you know, you do you. This is just a suggestion on a mix. So we're going to get this in the pan, get it in the oven. We'll see how long it takes, and I will bring you back to show you the final result. Okay, I'm back. How many of you were yelling at the screen, "You forgot the topping! You forgot the topping!" I forgot the topping. So it happens, you know, and you think of these things at the last minute. So what I got here is half and half ketchup and barbecue sauce. I'm pretty traditional there as far as that's concerned. Some people use straight ketchup, some people use straight barbecue sauce, and some people will put the sweet onion jam on top. And if you haven't seen that, you should go check out The Needy Homesteader. My friend Heather over there, she has a video showing that. So that's another great way to do it. So we're going to go ahead and get this on top here. I was like, oh, I bet you there's people yelling at the screen right now. It's real life here, folks. This is what happens in a kitchen. Sometimes you get ahead of yourself, sometimes you get behind yourself, sometimes you get beside yourself. And you know what? It's forgiving. In the end, it'll all come together. As long as you put a little love in everything. Excuse my tapping, I know that bothers people, but I hate to leave stuff on the spoon. As long as you put a little love in it, it'll all come together, and it'll be fantastic in the end. So now we have our sauce on it. I'm going to get this in the oven, and I'll bring you back when we're at the finished product. And we're back. So this was in the oven for about 45 minutes at 350. I tempt it with a thermometer. I think I've talked about this in a past video. I have one of these, a ThermoPro instant read thermometer. I've been cooking for, probably 35 years, and I obviously know if it's done or not, but I still use it all the time just because it's a fail-safe. So, I like it. I use it. Something to invest in if you're unsure of when things are done. So this is done perfectly. I just took it out of the oven, so it is blazing hot. And Josh isn't home yet, but I'm gonna sneak just a little taste piece out of the corner here just to see how we're doing. I mean, yeah, you can see the steam still rising off of that, so if you hear a scream. Man, I'm telling you, that sweet onion jam turns into kind of this smoky, oniony flavor in there, mixed with the seasonings that we had in there. I mean, the flavor is spot on. The little bit of barbecue sauce and ketchup on the top kind of mixes well with that. Yeah, this is everything I was hoping this meatloaf would be. So, sweet onion jam meatloaf it is. This will probably go into the rotation of meatloafs that I make, especially now that I have the sweet onion jam on the shelf. I hope you like this recipe. As always, change it, adapt it, make it yours. But I hope you like this. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I hope you had a great day.